Well, a lot of the systems, they're not integrated with their EHR. So it's like that's an easy win, right? So if you could come in there and say, hey, anytime that this appointment happens, we're going to move the stage. If they start care, we're going to move them here. And then if you could show them like, okay, let's do a better job at marketing math. Like if you, because like you might be able to figure out how many leads you got, how many showed and how many started, but you have no idea of how much revenue that generated. So it's like with ours, like you'd be able to figure out how many leads, how many scheduled, how many showed, how many started, how much revenue do you collect, where did they come from? And then if you really wanted to break it down even deeper and get down to like say a click ID and which ad set, you could do that.
Welcome to the Spotlight Session. It's a game-changing interview series that showcases award-winning agency owners to share secrets of starting and scaling a marketing business.
Everybody, welcome to another episode of our high-level podcast where we bring in high-level users within our ecosystem to join us and share what they're doing to grow their business, but also what's new in their business to help others within the high-level community. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Naota Hashimoto, the founder of Traxtat, working in the chiropractic space. And together we've joined so we can share with you a little bit about what Dr. Hashimoto is doing for marketers in the space to serve chiropractors, but also to touch on three important topic items that will help you serve and keep your chiropractic clients. The first pillar that we're going to be going over is being prepared to do a great job for the chiropractor you're taking on as a client. The second is integration and the power of it. And the third is the power of collaborating with the front desk and supporting staff to make everything run smooth. Dr. Hashimoto, thank you for joining me. I know you've been in the industry for a very long time. For those that haven't had a chance to meet you at one of our events within the high-level community, could you share a little bit about yourself, your business, and what you hope for our audience to take away from today's conversation?
Well, yeah, it's a bit of a journey. Got into healthcare thinking I wanted to be in healthcare, but as I got into healthcare, the more I've got into it, I realized that I just really fell in love with business. Uh, Came from a small rural town in Canada, actually was going to school to be a dentist. The summer before I was going to go to dental school, got in a car accident, and then did 6 months of physical therapy. I got improvements, but I still had a lot of neck and back pain. In my early 20s, I couldn't sit for over 20 minutes without a lot of pain. And then went to my first chiropractor, had a life-changing experience, went to school, met my wife, and grew that business. And soon realized that automation was huge. And like this is like before high level existed, but like we just automated and streamlined so many things in our practice. But one of the frustrating things when I was in practice is like we had all these different things and nothing talked to each other. And it was extremely frustrating. And I wished that when I practiced, there was like a high level that existed, but you had to cobble together all these different softwares and get these webhooks. And there was like even like pre-Zapier, it was a lot harder to even do that. And it was a pain. And then I eventually ended up making a software that started talking to different things because there's a lot of like things like, like Make or Zapier and other things or like your native webhooks. But like when you get into healthcare, there's no like easy webhook. You can't just grab a key, paste it in, and connect it because the database that has all the data, the EMR, EHR, they don't just hand those things out because you have that whole patient information issue like the HIPAA compliance. So
Yeah. And Doc, thanks for sharing the background because we'll have different guests come on with different expertise. And what's unique about what we're going to be going over today is that, like you had mentioned, you were a practitioner and then you shifted over into the business developer, and now you've created this integration that's from what you've shared with me, the amount of users you have and the results that is giving for those patients, for those customers, and for those marketing agencies you decided to integrate within high level. So could you
yeah.
share a little bit about um, what 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 is what why did you end up picking high level to be part of that integration? And what are some cool things that we can have our audience look forward to?
Well, like a real deal killer for anyone that wants to market in healthcare is a lack of HIPAA compliance. So that's just basically saying you got to keep your data secure and you're not sharing it with an outside party. There's no like official label or certification, but you have to pass a certain set of guidelines. And a lot of people think, well, what's the big deal? But the fines can be hefty. They could go up to like 2.1 million for a doctor, and that's a big chunk of change. But like smaller infractions are in the thousands to 35,000. If you hit like another level up, you get hit in the 70s, right? Low 70s. And, that's going to really kill your ROI. And not only is that going to be expensive, but then you have a chance of being reported to your licensing board. And if you were knowingly doing this and sharing the data, there's a chance that your licensing board could take away your license. So imagine going to school for like 9 years, 10 years, 11 years, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then all of a sudden you do something stupid, you take it away. So that's why it's like, people don't care if there's a software is like if someone says, "Oh, this is better, this is cheaper." They don't care. They just care that it is HIPAA compliant. And there's really not that many CRMs that are HIPAA compliant.
Yeah. And
So that would be the big reason why we chose high level.
absolutely. And we have several thousands of high-level agencies and marketers that serve thousands of customers under their account. And a majority, if not all of them want to give their customers the best experience. They want to do a great job. So I think that'll lead us perfectly into what you've shared, into our first pillar, which is how to give your customer a great experience and do a great job for them under the guidelines and what's required for them to, right, be able to put their head down at night and not worry about a fine or losing their license. Could you talk a little bit about um, marketers being prepared to do a great job?
Yeah, so it's like you just gotta realize like what kind of business you are, right? Are you going to be kind of like a lower cost, high volume operational excellent? Are you going to be like an Amazon, a Walmart? And there's a Chick-fil-A and In-N-Out, and there's nothing wrong with that kind of business. And then you have like a Ritz-Carlton, like a customer intimate type of business. And then you have like a product type of business, like an Apple or high level and things like that. So the product's going to be the same in both spots, but if you're a customer intimate, like you might charge the customer a lot more and you might be able to field the calls, follow up the leads, schedule the leads, do all the follow up. Who knows? Maybe you even do some pre-sales for the client, right? Versus the other one, you're going to have training videos, group coaching, a ton of automations, and you can make it up in volume. And, if you're marketing in certain industries, you could charge a lot more, right? Like I've talked to people that market to plastic surgeons, and yeah, like their minimum fee is a few grand a month, right? Just for like some kind of like software integration. And then if you're marketing in the chiropractic space, like you're gonna be charging less. It's gonna be several hundred to a few grand a month.
And Doc, with chiropractors that right have their system set up already and they have their processes in play and they want more patients, they want to grow. Could you share a little bit of how marketer today that maybe is looking to get their foot in the door within the chiropractic space, what are some things that they should be aware of? What's a good starting point of maybe covering all the essentials?
If you're trying to get into the space, it's trust is a big thing. So it's like I'd say like finding a couple of people, doing some marketing for them, using them as case studies and getting in the door. That's going to be a big thing. And then a lot of times, like when you're working with the office, they'll end up having you work with like one of the admin people. And a lot of times that's going to be the front desk person. And that front desk person can make or break your relationship with them. So if you're creating extra work, extra strife for them, they're going to be upset. So if you're a customer intimate type of business and you're scheduling all these leads and they're either not showing or they're getting double booked or people are waiting, they get frustrated. And then if you're in the other kind of business, you need to streamline and automate that. So like for us, that's why, like we like to sync the calendars, right? So it's like appointments in high level are going to be matching appointments in their EHR. And another thing that is extra work for the front desk is if someone no shows for an appointment or shows up for an appointment or makes it to the appointment or starts care, like the front desk doesn't want the extra work of updating those opportunities, moving them to a different stage. So it's like if you could get more patients in the door without creating a ton of extra work for them, they're going to be very, very happy because the owner just wants more new clients, new patients, whatever you want to call it. But the front desk, like, if you're creating hell on earth for them, anytime anything goes wrong, they're going to point it out. But if it's like pretty much set and forget it, leads are coming in and maybe they just have to follow up with the leads a little bit, or maybe you set up like some kind of an AI bot to go after them and they're scheduling and looking for availability, they're going to be happy and they're not going to throw you under the bus. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And with advertisements, doing Facebook ads, Google ads, local events, attending trade shows, what I've experienced with chiropractors is they're open to listen. There, a lot of them are open to listen. They're competitive. They sometimes offer additional services within their practice, whether it's physical therapy, acupuncture, massage therapy, um, a variety of others. So depending on the area of the chiropractor and the services they offer, they there could be an appetite for, like, hey, we're looking for automation, like you mentioned, conversation AI, maybe inbound answering the phones after hours, things like that. um, with what you've experienced being the practitioner and now being on the business end, could you share a little bit about the foot in the door, the positioning of the expertise, maybe high level or the white label version of high level that someone will be positioning, and what should be the mindset around the competitiveness? Like, let's say they have a system already in place. How does somebody start to like couple them together?
Uh, well, a lot of the systems, they're not integrated with their EHR. So it's like that's an easy win, right? So if you could come in there and say, hey, anytime that this appointment happens, we're going to move the stage. If they start care, we're going to move them here. And then if you could show them like, okay, let's do a better job at marketing math. Like if you, because like you might be able to figure out how many leads you got, how many showed and how many started, but you have no idea of how much revenue that generated. So it's like with ours, like you'd be able to figure out how many leads, how many scheduled, how many showed, how many started, how much revenue do you collect, where did they come from? And then if you really wanted to break it down even deeper and get down to like say a click ID and which ad set, you could do that. And the amount like, whether it's like Facebook or any of these other platforms, like I think the gold of today is really first party data because like Apple doesn't want to share their data, Google doesn't want to share their data, Meta doesn't want to share their data. So it's like the agencies that we work with that I would say do a better job. Every single one of them does a tremendous job of getting first party data. And they will just create these like big customer sets from all their clients around the country. And then they just target better patients. They have like good ads. They work with the client to create like some kind of a more custom style of ad. But like I'd say one consistency I've seen with like the agencies that clients continue to work with is they do a really good job of that first party data. And if you're not tying into that EHR, it's hard to know. Like someone that showed up for an appointment and paid like $100 versus someone that showed up for an appointment and paid 10 grand is like they shouldn't be in the same bucket.
Yeah, that segment and then the retargeting, makes a
Mhm.
big difference, and just, the right messaging. And, based on your experience, could you touch on some of the systems that maybe chiropractors maybe have been grandfathered into, that they've had for years since they've gotten started? Does that, like, EXC installation type of software still exist in that
Uh,
marketplace?
there's a couple, right? There's a couple like you have a physical server. A lot of them have kind of like moved to cloud, so there's not as much of that. And then you got to realize that a lot of the we'll call it appointment reminder type of softwares that you have in there, they're they're not really designed for marketing, right? There's a lot of things that they don't do, and an EHR is not a CRM, and a CRM is not an EHR. And there's value to both of them. And I think a CRM is phenomenal for, like creating that brand, attracting people, getting them to raise their hand and come in there. And yes, you could create a ton of automations off of like different activities in the office, but the the hard part is like the client. You'll have some clients that are very receptive to change, right? Like you'll have like these different appointments that you have in your office, and like you might say, I want to create a trigger off of these different appointment types. You meet with a client, they think it's a good idea, and they do that. And then you have some clients that are very resistant. It's like these are the type of appointments that we've had in our system for the last 5 years. We're not going to change those. You have to make it work for us, and they don't understand the concept that you need like some kind of a trigger. So it's it's always a little hard sometimes when you're dealing in healthcare. I'd say I always joke like fax is alive and thriving in healthcare because like it's a some of them are very tech savvy, and the ones that are getting into the high level community, they're definitely more of the innovators. But like you have people that are still doing things on paper, and they're very old school. So it's a little mix of both.
Yeah. And then the second bullet point that we're going to jump into is, right, let's call it adoption, right? Going from paper to cloud, or from, what they have and working with a platform like High Level, with a marketing agency that uses High Level. Could you talk about the integration part?
Yeah,
What's
like
the mindset? What's the strategy that you could share with our audience on walking in with that?
I'd say just having an integration is like the main strategy because you got to realize that if you don't have an integration, if someone schedules an appointment, someone has to manually go into another system and hand key in all the information. Then they have to manually maybe trigger off their paperwork. And then maybe when the paperwork gets filled out, they have to manually copy and paste it or rewrite it into there. So it's a lot of work. Labor is a lot harder to find. Not as many people I think people want to work, but like the cost to get someone good has gone up and reimbursement in healthcare has gone down. So they're very open to integration and automation. They just need to know it exists. And once they realize that, oh, this person could look at available times, they could enter themselves into the system, find an available time, get added to the schedule, automatically send the paperwork back to themselves, fill it out, get that information put in, trigger the reminders, educate them, give them an office tour before they arrive without even talking to anyone. They freaking love that. Once you do that, it's just like it's like they've just discovered the wheel. But like a lot of them, they're used to doing it a certain way. And then once they realize that you could automate all this stuff, now you've turned that admin front desk person into a friend instead of a foe. But like you just gotta like win them over. And like instead of trying to change everything, like I just say, it's like, let's focus on a couple of things. So let's just take something like online scheduling, right? They say, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. So I was like, I usually try to, let's just start with new patients, right? Let's just start with a super simple thing, get their feet wet. And even if they say they don't want to do it like on a call, I'll set it up for them. I'll ask how they want to schedule. I'll look at their schedule. We'll set up different rules to make it work for them. We'll create a couple of fake appointments just so they see it works. Then they put it on their website. And then all of a sudden they're like, holy crap, like this thing's amazing. Just like with the Google reviews, right? It's like, oh, we have a system. We have a system. And it's like, and I just tell them, you don't have to throw away your system. If your system, no one wants to be told that their system is crap. So I just say, you don't have to throw it away. You could keep doing that. We could supplement it with this, right? And you could do both. And I think once people realize that automating is consistent, happens all the time, and it probably does a better job than a lot of the people. And it just frees them up because, like, a lot of these people, they have a to-do list that is way too dang long. And it's just like it's freeing them up to do more things. And now, like, if an office is automating more things, they're cutting their expenses, and now they could afford to pay more to hire some A players. And I'd rather have like a few A players than a bunch of C players. So it's just I think people are open to this. It's just like they get overwhelmed. So it's like we pick like simple things, right? A no-show appointment, someone that no-shows. Let's automate a process there.
Yeah, so between patient communication, online scheduling, two power functions that chiropractors are using, plan their day, especially if they're maybe limited hours or they have additional chiropractors working within the practice as well. So integrating that is key. And I know you'll kind of touch on the use case on how you can help our audience, fill that gap. I want to talk about the the chiropractors that are looking for um, reactivating and follow up, and then having that happen based on last visit or lack of visit. Maybe they're not attending their treatment plan on schedule or they're falling behind. Um, is that
That's a
something
big
that
one,
yeah, is that
right?
something that high level can connect with
Yeah,
what Traxtat does and what maybe an existing platform has?
like we have it natively in ours. You could do that with high level, and it just it's fairly simple to do. You just figure out like who do you want to get back in the office. So if someone came in for a free cup of coffee 6 months ago and they haven't paid any money, maybe you don't want to reactivate them. So you could filter off people with like tags, and then someone's came in like 120 times over the last like several years, and they're a great patient. They've spent a lot of money, but their mom fell down, broke her hip, and then they have to go out of state. They have to help out their mom, and then they come back and they just forget. Like a lot of people think when someone quit coming into your business, it's because they were unhappy, but most of the time it's they forgot. Like I remember one time, this is back when I was in practice. I was at the dentist, and they were running late, and I had to like scramble out of there to go see patients. And I didn't book my appointment. I just said I'll call later. They called me 9 months later. They say Dr. Hashimoto, and normally I go in every 4 months. So it's like you need to make your appointment. It's like, well, I was just there. I thought I was there a few months ago, and it was 9 months. I was like, I knew I wanted to keep my teeth. I knew that I wanted to have healthy gums. I was like, I didn't want to get like implants when I got older. So it's like I have high value in what the dentist does, and I just got busy and I forgot. And most of the patients, they just get busy with life and they forget, right?
Yeah, and on this topic of integration and how the use case of what you've gone over, patient communication, database reactivation, monitoring the treatment plan and re-engaging them, and just being empathetic and saying, hey, how are you? How are things are going? Keeping that flow happening. When we talk about the power of the marketing system and using the information in compliance. Could you share a little bit on how your high level users that are integrating with Traxtat are making that happen as seamless as possible? What does that look like?
It's fairly simple. Like for any agency owner that like meets with us, like we'd walk them through and set up because like they're usually a lot more tech savvy than the clients, and then we could set them up as like a kind of like a power user, and they could toggle into different accounts and then set it up. But essentially, you're just connecting an API key. You're setting up some automations. You're mapping fields, right? This referral source goes to this referral source. So like these opportunity stages are linked with these kind of appointments. But essentially it's just like mapping fields, right? And you'll have like tags and different statuses like synced up, syncing up like the calendar. So it's I'd say it's a pretty easy thing to set up for an agency person. It's sometimes for someone that's less tech savvy, like in healthcare. Let's say you have like a 58-year-old office manager that's not very tech savvy. Um, we just do it for them, right? We just explain how it works, ask them if that works for them, say, do you want it to work like this, or that? And they say, I'd prefer it to work like the C option that you recommend. Great, we set it up. So people just want it working, right? They don't want to learn how to do it. They want it working. They want it automated. And then for like someone that's an agency owner, like they know what a webhook is, right? They know what an API key, they know all those things. So we talk differently depending on who we're talking to.
Absolutely. And as we get into this third pillar here, the power of collaborating, whether it's with other marketing partners that a chiropractic office is using, internal marketing, a staff, operations, front desk, office managers, billing, you name it, depending on the size of the chiropractor, there's other people outside of the doctor. Could you talk a little bit about we capture their attention. They listen to us. They understand that we have the integrations, we have the capability, we're compliant, we're knowledgeable. Um, how do we now keep everything kind of, running smooth from a relationship? And like you had mentioned before, not causing extra work, but not also underperforming. What's that balance? What's that look like?
Uh, it's just like I'd say not overwhelming them. And there's a lot of things that you could do. Like now, like reactivating patients is a very profitable activity. And even though like we recommend it to everyone, like everyone wants like new wife, new life, right? They don't want to fix your marriage, right? Fix your marriage is less exciting, right? They want that escape and that arrival. So I was like, even though like if you want to increase your office visits, yes, you could get a bunch of new patients, but if you just get the new patients, get them to finish their treatment plans, and then just stay with you, just like you guys understand the subscription model, it's it's a very powerful thing and it just compounds. But a lot of these docs, they just live and breathe on like new patients. So it's like new patient is always the hook, right? So I would probably focus on all my new patient automation things first. And then, yes, patient retention is great. And then just better reporting, right? So get better reporting of your clients, get better first party data. That is also a selling point because a lot of these guys, like, even though they might not understand it, they understand that like Google, Facebook, Apple, like Meta, all these people, they're keeping the data to themselves, so they get that. And like when Zuckerberg got caught with his pants down in like 2017 or something like that, like it's you'd have to be under a rock to not hear that and get that. So it's like I would say that would be a selling point at least to me, right? But like you always want to make things very simple.
When it comes to, from your experience, you running your own office and being around other chiropractors, serving them, could you talk about maybe what maybe one or two different types of chiropractic office might look like? And then how could that collaboration with, like you'd mentioned, maybe making forms easier where the patient has already submitted their information? Maybe that serves the front desk and that makes them happy. How do we maybe what features or what strategies within high level within your integration could we couple to make those players within the day to day look forward to
Yeah.
seeing us?
So there's a couple things there. So it's like we'll unpack that. So it's like there's a lot of different kind of practices, right? So you'll have like we'll call it traditional chiropractics that do a lot of things with hands, right? And you'll have people that want to see a ton of people, and we'll call them higher volume. And we have some people that are lower volume. And then you'll have like that other group that I would say is usually a little bit more business savvy. And you could usually identify them. Like if you went to their website, and sometimes you see a lot of different modalities, right? They're doing laser, they're doing decompression, they're doing neuropathy. Like those people would probably be ones that I might target a little bit more. And some of the people that offer those different services, especially if they're doing some of the medical services, they can afford to spend more to get a client, and you're going to be able to do some fun and fancy things with them versus like someone that like 350 to $500 a qualified patient through the door that starts care, like the math isn't quite there because some of them are going to collect 3, 5, 10, 15K for a patient versus like some of them are 500, and the ones that are 500, it just unless they're doing a ton of volume, it's just really difficult to make the math work.
So just because you if you don't mind, do you mind sharing a little bit about if a listener wants to learn more about what you offer with Traxtat, the problems you solve, the integration capability. Can you kind of talk about the best ways that maybe Traxtat could be incorporated into a high level agency's tech stack?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways. Like they could go to trackstat.org, trackstat.org. Below, there's like a contact us. They could schedule a quick call. They could go over that. And then, yeah, like before they got on the call, like if they knew like what kind of, they'll call it an EHR. and chiropractic, find out what kind of ones that they use. And, like if they have a client and they want us to connect it, we'll connect it for free. We'll do a call, we'll walk through, show them how it works. And then most of the time, like we do other services that high level doesn't do. And like the cost of ours is really just replacing that service. So like most of the clients are going to pay $0 extra. If not, like they're going to save a little bit of money if they used our platform because they're going to be canceling a service using ours. And essentially, the marketing agency is going to get this integration for free. We connect with a couple credit card processors, we connect with a few other things. And like our plan is to just continue integrating more softwares because I always personally found that it was a pain in the ass logging into several different things and nothing talk to each other.
Absolutely. And Doc, with so many different platforms coming out, integrations coming out, could you touch on maybe a few of the most important elements of an integration for the chiropractic space that for someone that's looking around or now exploring this type of customer to bring on, what they should be aware of that you need this, you need that, this is important more than what you might assume might be important.
Um, I'd say the most important thing is an accurate integration. Like I'll see some salespeople, and I'm not going to name other companies, but like they'll claim that they have an integration, and then their definition of an integration is they want the client, like the doctor, to export a list, import it, and then now they call that an integration. So it's like people just want it connected and they want hands off, right? They don't want to export stuff and import stuff and upload it. They don't want extra work, they just want it working. So it's like I'd say an important thing is that it's connected, it's running automatically, and then the more type of data that you're grabbing is going to be better. And then if it's accurate, that's even more important, right? But like exporting and importing kind of sucks.
Yeah, I could relate to that, and I've seen it in my experience that it's not the fun part of the job. And you've covered a lot here around, right, serving chiropractors where they want to be served and understanding, what's important to them. And I appreciate you unpacking all of this. Um, for those that are tuning in and they want to learn about you, there'll be some information below in the there'll be some information below in the description to learn more about Dr. Hashimoto, Traxtat, their integration. It's available in the marketplace. Doc, could you share a little bit around how people, what they should know about that marketplace integration?
So they would just reach out to us and then we just did a private app because like it's not something that they could do publicly anyway. So it's like for us to do an integration within EHR, we have to like connect it and they have to give permission. So it's like some of them, like the user, like the doctor would hit like subscribe, it sends us a notification, and then we manually connect it. So it's yeah, just like in the healthcare thing, they don't just willy-nilly just it's not like connecting a Zapier webhook. It's not more difficult, but like it's very guarded because of the HIPAA compliance.
Well, Doc, I appreciate you sharing a handful of information here around how to serve chiropractors in the local market, how to obviously their respect what's important to them in their practice and their license, but also how to support their team members and their staff. There'll be more information available for those of you that are interested in learning more. Thank you so much, Doc. Any closing remarks before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just say it's like if you want to get into healthcare, I think it's a great field to get in. Once you get the trust of the doctors, they trust other doctors more than anyone else. So it's like you got to speak their language, just like if you go into any community, you got to learn the language, you got to learn the nuances. And yeah, like they're going to want more new patients. Most of them want to increase their visits, and then they want a way to increase how much they collect per visit. And you got to realize that these guys, they're getting squeezed hard, right? Insurance companies have been reducing what they pay doctors and increasing the hurdles that they have to jump through more and more. So a lot of people, even in physical therapy, they're branching out and looking in other cash services, and people are realizing that they can't just live off insurance anymore. So they have to start becoming more business people. So it's just like show them how they could get more people. If you could show them how they could increase how much they collect per patient and then increasing their visits and then decreasing their costs by automating stuff, like They'll just share it in a forum. They'll share it in a community. Most of them aren't even looking for an affiliate fee. Most of them don't even know what an affiliate fee is. And they just want to help their colleagues, right? And these are people that just love serving people, just like a lot of the agencies love serving people. And a lot of them are just, they have that servant heart and they want to help people. They're not business people, so they need someone to hold their hand and, just you got to spoon feed them little bit by little bit and get them some easy wins and then move on to other things.
Well, Dr. Hashimoto, thank you so much for sharing the wealth of information, expertise, and strategy with us. For those of you tuned in, comment below any questions you have. If you're looking to incorporate this integration using high level, there'll be information below. Until next time, Doctor, we'll see you either at our events or back on here, but I appreciate you unpacking. And we got some work ahead of us to do as listeners and as users.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Take care, guys. Have a great one.